Haley, and today I wanted to do kind of an introduction to me video. So just some facts about me. I'm a teacher, a historian, an archaeologist, a museum educator, a writer, a reader, tall ship sailor, and mother of dog. Jack Russell Terrier, his name is Max. You've probably seen him running around if you've been watching other videos. He'll be popping in and out. And also, because this is my first video going up, I did want to kind of tell you a bit about myself. I like coffee, I like tea, I like apple cider. Fall is nice. I'm deathly allergic to citrus. And yeah. So this video is called the 13 books. I'll link this in the middle part too. This video is going to be focusing on the 13 books that always travel with me. A lot of my jobs involve a lot of travel. I'm a big reading fan. I read all the time, but with that, there's always been kind of a problem of what books can I take with me? What can I bring around? What books do I need to just leave? If I could only have 13 books in my possession, what 13 would those be? So these are the books that if I'm archaeologying or spending the summer living out of my car, that travel with me. So without further ado, let's get into it. Number 1, Ivanhoe. Ivanhoe is awesome. It's written by Sir Walter Scott. It's a story of adventure, knighthood. There's King Richard, there's romance, there's dashing, braving, daring do. Robin Hood is involved. It's just good. It's a bit of a clunker, but it's really fun. Highly, highly recommend. It's about a disinherited knight named Sir Wilfrid of Ivanhoe who goes to the Crusades and then comes back to find his true love, and then he has to save the day a whole bunch of times. And like I said, Richard the Lionhearted is involved, and it takes place kind of in that time. It's good. So that's book number 1. Book number 2 that always travels with me is A Little Princess by Frances Hodgson Burnett. This book has always been one of my favorites, and it's just the kind of book that always makes me happy. And if it doesn't make me happy, it makes me think. It's about a little girl who's fabulously wealthy. She's kind of spoiled, raised by just her single father. And then he tragically dies, and she goes from having everything to having nothing. And just kind of how she struggles with that, and kind of what this little girl goes through, but also what she does to kind of rise above it. And this is that kind of book that as a kid I was like, I want to, when things are rough, I want to at least be as happy as Sarah Crewe is in A Little Princess. So that's why A Little Princess is definitely on my list. The next book that I want to talk about is The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. You can also tell that these are mine because most of these I got new and they're kind of sad. The Hobbit is probably my favorite book of all time. It has been for a while. It was the first book that I read on my own, ever. I do not care for the movies, but that's another conversation. And basically, it's about a homebody who doesn't like to be far away, who keeps finding himself in all these strange adventures and realizing that he can, in fact, triumph and do well in that strange and new world. So that is why The Hobbit is always with me when I travel. Next up, I have a copy of Hi Max. Max disemboweled a squeaky toy. He's very proud of himself. This is Jurassic Park by Michael Crichton. I love the movie, but I also really love the book. And this is, if you don't know the story of Jurassic Park, this group of scientists discovered they can clone dinosaurs. And so they have a dinosaur park, but then things start to go very badly, and they realize that they have less control than they think they do. It's wonderful. It's atmospheric. It's my favorite Crichton. I really like Timeline as well by Michael Crichton, but this is probably my favorite. The other thing about these 13 books is that I tend to reread them at least once a year. Other books that I like the Lord of the Rings series, Harry Potter, the rest of Robert McKinley, Tamora Pierce, I tend to only reread once a year. And these I reread at least once or twice. I think I only said once, but that's not what I meant. Then we have The Princess Bride by William Goldman. This is probably the funniest book that I have ever read in my life. It's snarky, it's sarcastic, it makes fun of fairy tales in a fun and exciting way. The little comments, so basically he pretends that he's editing this book and his edits are just funny. He's like, this chapter was pointless. I'm cutting it out. But there was no chapter. It's just, if you like fairy tales, but you also like to make fun of them, The Princess Bride is one to check out. It always cheers me up. Okay, then I've got an oldie but a goodie. This is my Bible. This is, well, one of my Bibles. I always have a Bible that travels with me, and this was my travel Bible. It's the one that went with me when I was on the tall ship. It's the one that goes with me on digs. It's the one I've had the longest. I think I got this in let me see. I want to say I got this one in, 2002. So it's a little bit older. I have another one that I use for church and for, fancy events, but it's still a book that does travel with me. It's important to me. My faith is a very important component of who I am. So this is the one that I use when I'm traveling. And then we have Daughter of the Forest by Juliet Merlier. This is a retelling of the story of the 7 brothers, the 12 brothers, basically Wild Swans. It's that story where the sister has the brothers and the brothers get turned into a swan, and the only way to de-swan them is for her to follow a series of tasks and challenges and break them from their freedom and break them from their spell. So this book is about, it's bases on a lot of Irish mythology. It's actually part of a trilogy. I like this book better than the others in the trilogy, but the whole trilogy is solid. The Seven Waters trilogy. Most everything by Juliet Merlier I love. This book, the girl is doing her challenge, and then she finds this guy who is one of her family's enemies, and they kind of start to fall for each other. But it's awkward because they're enemies. She can't talk. And so it's that she's trying to save her family and falling in love, and she's been badly hurt. There's some graphic content in here. She is raped at one point, and so before she finds the guy she falls in love with. So that's part of her journey. It's deep and compelling and just beautiful. I know there's no such thing as a perfect novel, but some of these I think might actually fall pretty close on that line. Also, no Tamora Pierce in this pile, but just so everyone's aware, she's amazing. Okay, and then we have Chalice by Robin McKinley. This one is kind of a weird choice because it feels kind of incomplete in some places, but it's a compelling story. It's about this land where they have a magical hierarchy, and the people there, and they're struggling, they're dealing with corruption and kind of finding their places and taking care of their land. There's bees, and magic and adventure, and it's just delightful. It's just kind of like it gives you a little tiny sneak peek into this amazing and magical world created by Robin McKinley, and you just cannot help but want to know more. So, also, I think I said this already, but anything by Robin McKinley, I will read. So, this is just the one that tends to travel with me the most, that I tend to be reaching for the most. Another fairy tale retelling, we've got East by Edith Pateau. This is a retelling of the story East of the Sun, West of the Moon. And it's a Norwegian folktale where the girl is married to a polar bear, or she goes with the polar bear, not necessarily married to him. And he's a person in the evening and a bear during the day, and she is trying to break the spell without realizing she's breaking a spell. She fails because she sees his face, and then the Troll Queen gets him, so she has to go to the Troll Queen's tower, which is East of the Sun, West of the Moon. He's familiar with the Bear King Valamon story, if that's familiar to you. And this is it's just good. It's another one of those, if there is a perfect book, this might be it. And it's told in alternating perspectives. We get her point of view, the bear's point of view, her brother, and then also the Troll Queen. It's a lot of fun. A sequel just came out called West, which I was surprised how much I enjoyed. So this is a book that always travels with me. My copy, it's a little frayed, you can kind of tell. It's definitely well beloved. We have The Bellwether by Susanna Kersley. I tend to bounce back and forth between Susanna Kersley books. This is my latest favorite. I usually have at least one of hers in my favorite pile. This is, it's a local legend. It's got a modern day curator. I'm from the museum field, so anything about curators or archaeologists, and she writes a lot about them. There's ghosts. It's about a magical It's about like a story of star-crossed lovers. What are they star-crossed lovers? And a historian trying to kind of piece together this mystery, which is also being told with the flashbacks from that story. So we get to piece together the mysteries as we're going. There's a boat. There's a painting. There's a museum. It's just good. Hi, buddy. I have The Morning Gift by Eva Ibbotson. The Morning Gift is a story about a girl who is in Austria. She's Jewish and she needs to get out. The only way to get her out is that a visiting professor, a younger professor, decides to marry her to get her a British citizenship visa and get her out of the country. She can do that. And they get to England and he's like, well, divorce, it'll be fine. He's actually wealthy and he's a professor just because he wants to be. And they get there and it's actually a lot more complicated than that. They're not supposed to see each other. They're not supposed to interact. They decide to keep it a secret because she doesn't want her family to be overly thanky. And she's sort of unofficially engaged to her cousin, who's a famous musician. But as time goes by, she finds herself going to college and she gets accepted into the university that her husband is teaching at. They have to keep it a secret. There's always people that are trying to marry him, trying to marry her. He hates her fiance. She doesn't like the girl who's trying to marry him. Neither of them can really put their finger on it. Then, of course, they realize later, are they actually falling for each other? There's a lot about archaeology, anthropology, and music. Oh, I know. And music in this book, it's just delightful. And if you like stories that are just a bit more, it's a serious story because of the threat of World War II, but also it's funny. Eva Ibbotson is a funny lady, so highly recommend if you're looking for some historical fiction. This and Bellwether together. Alright, Phantom Tollbooth by Norton Juster. This is the book that made me think I should be an English teacher. This book is funny. It's got puns, it's got grammar jokes and wordplay. It's just a delight. It's pretty tiny. It doesn't take long to read. And it's one that I like to go back to. It's about a boy who's bored and he finds himself going on this journey through a magical land in search of rescuing the beautiful princesses Rhyme and Reason, because Rhyme and Reason have fled the kingdom. They're lost from the kingdom. And it's just fun. It's just a fun book. Highly recommend. Then last, but certainly not least, we have The Wind in the Willows by Kenneth Grahame. This one, I have to be honest, I haven't reread in a while, but it is still just a delightful story. It's fun, it's short, it's about nice people sailing. It's just good. Highly recommend. So, there you have it. Those are the 13 books that I always travel with. Let me know in the comments if there are some books that you always travel with. What are books that you reread frequently? Other books that I reread frequently, I read The Darkest Rising. I read The Enchanted Forest Chronicles by Patricia C. Reed. And my auto-buys are Sonia Menon, Lauren Willig, and Rick Riordan, and Susanna Kersley. So with that, thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you soon.